I mean, I don't know what else you expect to happen. So real quick, Matt, say hello real fast. I want to do a little level check.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Almost in Agreement. It's December 12th, 2020, on a
Stealing my
wonderful
intros,
evening. Is that
yeah.
good?
That works. And Randy,
I
you
used to
sir,
do the announcements in high school.
get nice. Randy, real quick, just to make sure we got good levels.
Hey, Randy Pace, Knox County GOP chair. Glad to be here, Matt. Good to see you again or hear you again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
good to see you.
I got it set up really funky because I can see both of you and I can see Randy in the flesh.
Well, that's all. That's all that matters.
You
I
can
don't
hear
want to
me
look
but
at
not see
myself.
me.
I know what I look like.
My wife broke my glass. I'm upset about that. That's a separate story. All right, so the functional parts. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, round 2 is underway. I don't really know what that means. It went real well the first time, so I assume we'll do pretty well again the second time. Like I said, we're for Facebook Live and for the first time too. If you guys are interested, we'll try to do that a little more often. But I've got Matt Shears with the Knox Dems and Randy Pace in the room from the Knox County GOP, and we're going to talk about whatever. You know me, I don't really set up for anything. But I do have some particular things that I want to kind of push one way or the other on. But we'll just kind of start and see where it goes, and we'll talk about whatever we talk about. And as Matt said in the pre-intro there, it is December 12th, 2020. It's almost over. Not that anything's actually going to be over come January 1, but at least this 2020 year is almost in the rear view, and we're going to move on, and the world will continue to turn. Fingers crossed. So with that, I'll get the sounds out of the way, and we'll get going. Matt, Randy, thanks for being here. I'm excited to do this again. Like I said, I don't have an agenda like I ever do. I don't want to get into November. I don't care. That's passed, especially after yesterday. I believe, if we want to get a little dabble in it real fast, if I understand what's going on in the world correctly, the legal challenges have pretty much run out at this point. So it is now, come Monday, we'll officially have President-elect Joe Biden. Is that correct to everyone's understanding?
Correct. Joe Biden is president-elect.
Well, will be on Monday when all states certify on the 14th. But there's no logical objection that's still floating around there that can happen or whatever. That's my understanding. Randy, am I right? Are we on the same page?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have no idea what's going on with that certification. I know it's coming, but I haven't. It's not been the focus of my attention daily. And we had an election in November. I know what happened in Knox County.
All right, so that's the past. Let's move on to the future. All right, so
Joe Biden is president-elect, yeah.
so we have local on the docket. We have city elections in 2021, which again, neither of you guys have official impact on because they're nonpartisan races. You will assist candidates that are obviously Republicans or Democrats, if I understand that correctly. But as far as on paper, you won't actually have Republican or Democrat candidates because of the nonpartisanship of city elections.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And KCDP, we don't help city council races like we do partisan races. So we don't have like staff that works on their behalf or anything.
Right. Because they don't get to actually affiliate technically.
Correct.
All
Yes.
right. I don't know. Again, in this, for me personally, that's kind of it's a little bit off topic for me because I'm not a city resident, so I technically don't have any part to play in it as a voter, although I presume that we have some city listeners. So I will implore you guys to, as the future rolls out, help me get a hold of candidates and get some information about the candidates that you guys know of. And I'll start pushing that a little further because, we figure January, February is when everybody will start declaring as far as when those races
Petition
will start.
pickup is March 20th.
Okay.
That's when they actually grab their filing petition from the election commission. Some people are already talking about it.
Right.
Obviously, the incumbents, some of them have already indicated that they want to seek re-election. So
Right.
yeah,
And then the primary is in August, and then general in November, of course. And it's an open primary, so like anyone can run. Like the number of people can run, and then the top two, unless someone gets 50% in the primary, go on to November.
All right, so brass tacks, I like it. I like that. Not only we got dates and stuff, and we'll deal with the people when we get there. I don't know. For me, it's hard to. I always joke about it's hard enough for me to keep up with elections that I'm actually a part of, let alone getting into stuff that's not in my forte. But I'm just trying to think of what, the baseball stadium's a big one on the local docket right now.
Wow.
And it's a conversation. Apparently we're Sin City, but we're also the most Christian city in the world. That was a funny one. We were going back and forth on the side. And so it's like, it's weird trying to get to the point where we're not talking pandemic all the time. We're talking in the sense of how we are moving, how we are living our lives, and the pandemic's a side thought instead of the forethought anymore. We're trying to figure out how to move forward. We're trying to think of things in terms that are longer than the pandemic's going to last, which I like. It gives us some forward momentum.
Hope.
Right, there's a good word to get to. So I don't know, like for either one of you guys, I guess I'll start with Matt. Like, what do you see that's kind of on the calendar of particularly large things that are coming up that are local issues that we actually may not know about? Because my whole argument is that it's hard to get local issues unless you are elbow deep in it like you guys are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you mean like local political issues coming up?
Yeah.
Well, of course, like we already mentioned, you've got the city council races that are coming up. You've got the baseball stadium. I mean, a lot of the next couple of years will be just economic rebuilding post-pandemic. What will that look like on a state level, on a city level, county level? You've got the Board of Health issue that seems to be a persistent issue
Which
lately.
I saw I saw it popped up earlier today. Lady Buchanan has tested positive. That's like, it's not fun.
Really?
I hate to hear that for her. Yeah, it came out. It popped up on my news feed a couple hours ago.
Okay, that's good to hear that.
Yeah, that's not.
So yeah, you've got that issue that's coming up that seems like it's going to be escalated to state level. And then the big thing over the next 2 years is going to be redistricting that will happen at pretty much every level. So, and we talked a little bit about that last time. The state house congressional redistricting, but then that'll funnel down all the way to city level and county level as well. So
yeah,
those are a few things that are coming up on the docket, I would say, over the next couple of years.
Okay, so we'll let's stay on redistricting or gerrymandering, whatever word you like to use better, because it's something I have curiosity about. What is the process for me? Because I had Massey in here. I talked to her about it a little bit, and it's unclear to me because it's a subcommittee thing first. And it's one of those things. So where does an individual who has concerns about the way they're redistricting, like, are we going to get a plan? Are they going to send it? Will be a public notice of
It's census driven. So the state legislature will take census data. They'll look at the entire state and its population. 10 years has passed since we did the last redistricting. How much population shift have we had in the state of Tennessee and, locally for us here in Knox County, city of Knoxville? How much of the population has shifted and where? We elect our government representatives based on population. They serve people in districts and they try and balance the districts based on that population. If your population, and just broad brush, rudimentary, Census 101, redistricting 101, if your population grows, then you should have more representation. If your population shrunk, you're obviously going to have less. The way those lines get drawn sometimes it's a math problem, and there is absolutely zero partisan determination in that, depending on whether it's at the city level, county level, or state level. But
I would disagree about the partisanship, but we talked about that last time while we were here. I mean, I think it's naive to think
the minority party always disagrees when they're the minority party.
Well, that's why for
Knox County, yeah, and the state of Tennessee, yeah, the Democrats are going to say it's gerrymandering, but if you go to New York, it's not gerrymandering.
Well, let's look at it.
If you go to California, it's not gerrymandering.
All
right, hold on, time out, because here's a better way. He who sits here that is not party affiliated, who is in the super minority, I don't care how you want to explain it. If you look at a map, there are certain ones that I need an explanation of the logic and why this line went here, because I understand that the line doesn't necessarily going to be straight, or it's not going to necessarily follow a road, because you need to pull in a little bit of population from whatever. But when you get these weird districts, and maybe it's because it's added on to years of past messing around and going back and forth, that's fine. And again, we could pretend that there's not a malice in it, and we could talk about it in that sense, and that again is fine. Just to get the point out is that when, like me, for example, not for election's sake, but me, for example, in the county, 15 feet this way, 15 feet that way, city, and then a mile and a half the other way is city again, and then like I am in an island of county in the middle of the city.
But that was not redistricting.
Right,
that was driven by the annexation
but when my point is
property for tax purposes.
But my point is when the lines look so ridiculous, there's obviously something going on, and there's a purpose for why these lines look ridiculous. And well, I guess what I'm asking is how can anybody try to argue to me, who doesn't have either party in mind, when I look at things, that there isn't an intent in this, there's not a logic to it. So what's the intent? And that's my issue with it. It's like, it's fine. I get it. I get the numbers change. You need to add a few to this district because this other district grew. And if we keep letting that one grow, there'll be 500,000 in this one and only 100,000 in this one. And you have to balance that out. But to do it in little chunks and pieces, that when you flip it over and put it on another map, that this district was blue is now red, or this section of this district's more blue, or even if you do it in income brackets and all that other stuff, when those little jump outs line up with other things, it's hard not to say there's something going on here more than just, oh, we need to add 100,000 people to this section.
All right, so I'll put it to you this way again, for somebody that has been involved in that process before, I can tell you that it is a math problem. And like any math problem, let me put it to you this way. We've got 9 jelly beans, and you and I are going to split up those 9 jelly beans. Well, there's going to be
I want 5. I'm bigger than you.
There's one left over. So what do we do with it?
Right.
So we're going to divide up that 5th jelly bean, right?
Okay.
So how does that 5th jelly bean get divided up? Well, there's only 2 of us. So obviously human nature is going to be, well, I want it. I tend to fall into the category of, you know something, it's a jelly bean. You can have it. You know, I'll get it next time. I'm all for fair play and I'm all for fairness, but you're dealing with again a math problem. When you start talking about, well, this district used to be red and is now blue.
There's other factors that can go in that too. I get that.
Exactly.
But on top of that,
I think there's less malice in the whole redistricting scheme, if you will, than most people believe. And I think that people that are truly partisan and truly single-minded use or want to use terms like gerrymandering. I will tell you, for Knox County, right now as it stands, we can't really say what county commissioners are going to be or what constituents are going to be in a particular commissioner's district come 2022. So, you know, we may have a sitting county commissioner that no longer lives in the district he's serving in, you know, because of redistricting.
Right.
And the people that have supported him may not live in that district. So some of those people, just because they don't like change and they don't want to see anything change, they're gonna throw stones. They're gonna and believe me, I have looked at the political maps in Knox County until I'm cross-eyed, and I will tell you that with the population in 2010. In Knox County and the population in 2020, there's going to be a lot of change.
I could get behind that. Right.
However,
well, hold on. Let Matt jump in for a second before we get too far down the road, so he doesn't have to go back 15 minutes.
First of all, I am pro-competitive districts wherever they are, whether it be Maryland or New York or Tennessee. I'm pro-competitive districts because I think it's good political competition, which makes candidates better and better policy.
Which is easy to say from the minority. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead.
And the way that map would
I interrupted.
look
Hold
if
on.
we made it 50-50 is
I interrupted.
pretty silly.
Right. I
I'm
interrupted. Sorry,
I
Matt.
didn't interrupt.
An example would be look at Randy McNally's district. So Randy McNally lives in Oak Ridge, but Randy McNally's Senate district has a sliver that follows I-71 all the way into downtown Knoxville. He lives in Oak Ridge, and he has a sliver that cuts through some of the most democratic parts of the city of Knoxville down I-75 into downtown Knoxville.
Right. So again, so let's try to back up and do the math problem, because when this was back in 2010, or I don't know if it was before that or not. And so Oak Ridge population is significantly less. Knox County's growing. Knox County needs to add a senator, but not a full senator. They just need some of Knox County to go to another senator.
Well, it's my understanding, is this right, Randy, that our state house, we're going to have to share one of our state house seats with a surrounding county. That's what I've heard in regards to population growth.
All right, so I've heard a lot of different stories. I've heard that Randy McNally's district is going to be pushed all the way out into Oak Ridge, and he won't touch any part of Knox County. But again, based on...
Well, okay, hold on. I'm going to interrupt again, real.
Yeah.
But so what I say with the math makes sense, or to put the math problem in play is that I think
14 and 18 are overpopulated.
But it's Massey told me it's like 180,000 or something is her district. I think is what she said. 180.
Yeah, that sounds
around 200,000. So
yeah,
so back then, let's say it was, So let's say it's about, let's just easy math. It's 200,000 give or take per district in the state Senate, and Knox County's pushing 500 now. So 100,000 of that either has to go to another senator, and where do you pull that in from? And again, I get the idea. It's like, okay, we're going to cross a county line because it's semi-figment of imagination inside the state function anyway, to give some of that Anderson County, some of the Knox County residents to get that 200,000 number. But the lines is the weird part, and where I agree with Matt. It's like if you're gonna go into Knox County, would it not make more sense to pull the 100,000 people closest to Anderson County into that, not the 100,000 people that go all the way into downtown? That's where it's hard for me to believe that there is not intent. Malice might be a too big a word, but that there's not intent on where they're drawing these lines to some advantage. Because again, it's self-interest. You're gonna if we're gonna split that jelly bean. All right, so we're going to put it in the way when we agree on it, and it may be on the other side. Memphis may get a half a district that they get from somebody else.
All right, so
in turn,
now you just hit the nail on the head. This isn't about just Knox County. This is about the entire state of Tennessee,
right?
Because all of this is managed within the state of Tennessee, and that's why the state legislature is doing this, not Knox County Commission or Knoxville City Council. So again, it's kind of like tax assessments. When we reassess taxes, some people's taxes go up, some people's taxes go down. The same number of people during this whole redistricting scenario, the same number of people that believe they won, you're going to have the same number of people that believe they lost.
Right.
So again, it truly becomes a math problem. Now, you have 4 population centers in the state of Tennessee, 5 if you include Johnson City, but they're just not the same size as Chattanooga, Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville. So those 4 cities where the population or majority population centers are going to play a big role in the decision making where those winners and losers fall. And when I say winners and losers, I don't mean that in a literal sense.
Right.
I get it. And that's where those lines that you were talking about, how did we get Randy McNally's district running all the way down here? So my guess is when the dust settles, the number of people that are complaining will be based on whose district changed the most and who, in Matt's, the way Matt put it, who comes closer to that 50-50 in a political race. 50% on this side of the aisle, 50% on that side of the aisle. I
The other interesting dynamic in Tennessee is that you have urban suburban growth, but you're seeing rural decline in certain rural counties. So, like Rutherford County, Williamson County are growing exponentially fast. I mean, faster than Knox County is too. So, you're going to see a lot of pull and concentration go into Rutherford County, Williamson County, surrounding areas of Nashville, because those are growing even faster than Knoxville.
right.
And Chattanooga is growing faster than Knoxville too.
So
And that brings okay. We'll
Go ahead.
we'll finish here, and because that's going to move me on to another question that we can talk about. Go ahead, and then I'll follow up with that.
So and Matt brings up a very good point. The statewide, areas of Tennessee have grown faster than others. So and again, if you're not living near one of those urban centers, sometimes you feel like, oh well, I'm getting left behind. Somebody's getting more than I am. Somebody's doing better than I am. That's the whole point of redistricting. It's we elect our governing
Right, and again,
or,
I don't think
or our elected officials based on population.
right, and I don't think there's any argument or discussion about whether or not redistricting needs to happen. It's the how it happens that it's for certain people.
I'll add that there's a pretty interesting website. I can't remember the name of it, but one of our field organizers sent it to me. I can send it to you, where you can make your own maps based on population. It's pretty interesting. So I can send it to you. And you can kind of play around with it. Well, what if this Senate district goes right here in Knox County? And then you can base it off of, all right, what were the electoral results in 2018, 2016? I mean, it can become very, very detailed. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, judicial rulings have shown that partisan gerrymandering wasn't found unconstitutional. Racial gerrymandering was found unconstitutional, but partisan gerrymandering is at this point allowed.
Okay, so that falls. Okay, so we'll put the book on that for a second. And again, trying to stay local in conversation. One of the things that I've been thinking about is the rate of growth, because right now we like you guys said, we're not the fastest in the state growing, but the state as a whole is growing significantly. Lots of people are running away from the New Yorks and the Californias and settling down here, and some of the different reasons why they're doing that, whatever, that's fine. Because when you're allowed to virtual work, why wouldn't you live somewhere that's way cheaper? It's the logical way to go. And so for me, it's one of those questions. It's like, yeah, it's great, my house value is going up, but how much do I want Knoxville to grow? And how much are we having conversations about how much Knoxville wants Knoxville to grow?
Lots.
Is
Lots
it because that's something I would like to hear more about. I don't know, Matt, do you have anything that you've heard people talking about as far as, is it a question of what's the word I'm looking for here? Is it a question of it's inevitable, we're going to grow, it's how we deal with the growth, or is there anybody that's actually actively pushing back and being like, we need to slow down, this is getting too fast and too much?
I mean, Tennessee has a Department of Economic Development. I mean, one of the key aspects of Tennessee going back for decades, not just when Republicans were in control, but when Democrats were in control, Governor Ned McWhorter. I mean, we have always been a state that tried to bring in businesses, I mean, particularly car manufacturing recently in the last couple of decades. So, I mean, the economic growth, economic development, I think is inevitable, really. So is the question then, are there people who don't want us to grow as in population wise, or what?
I guess that it kind of covers a number of different parts of that. Is there any pushback to the importation of I mean, because I know there's pushback to some of the tax incentives and stuff that people put in place and some of the governments are doing. I hear a lot about that part of it, but is there anybody that's just like, no, Knoxville at 500,000 is plenty, we need to slow down, we need to figure out how to put less people here?
So here's the beauty of about the country that we live in. It really isn't up to government where you choose to lay your head.
True.
And insofar as people moving to Knoxville, the incentive to move to Knoxville, Knox County, Tennessee, is great. And one of the primary reasons is the cost of living. I've lived in 7 states, and I can tell you that all 7 are as different as night and day. But at the same time, all 7 are identical. Again, it's not a function of government to determine that we don't want people to move into our community. I think when you run down that road, we're big enough.
Right. I tend to agree with you that it's not supposed to be the function of government, but it can be.
I've seen it. I've seen it all over. And locally, let's keep it local. I won't talk about New Jersey, one of the most densely populated states in the union. I'll talk about Tennessee. I'll talk about Knox County. I'll talk about Farragut. Farragut makes it, it's horrible.
Right, I know business-wise it's really difficult.
If you don't grow your flowers straight, somebody's going to hear about it.
Right.
Well, and people will, certain people will shy away from that. Right. Other people won't. Other people gravitate to that. So there is some of that goes on. Insofar as growth, there's a lot of things that impact how quickly and how much Knoxville grows. Geographics, topography, the available place where you can actually build homes, the infrastructure to support it, and how quickly
because I think
you can put it
for
in
me
place.
that's one of the concerns for me is that I think we already have a little bit of an infrastructure in Knox County anyway, an issue in Knox County anyway. Again, go back to my first Kyle Ward episode. We were talking about that every winter we get the flood down here on the end of North Shore, and
our Knox County's planning commission they were abysmal and have been for years.
But and that's the issue. My opinion is
it matters who governs.
Well, and we're staring down. We're staring down the gun of a large population growth pretty quick. Because I think.
Well, I would say really the communities in Tennessee that are really struggling with keeping up with infrastructure wise, I would say it's Nashville. I mean, Nashville is absolutely exploding. And I don't foresee Knoxville growing at the rate that Nashville does, or the rate of like other southern cities, Atlanta or anything like that. I mean, we're a pretty medium-sized city. And like I said, we are experiencing growth, but we're even growing at a slower rate than Chattanooga is. But I think it takes good planning, it takes infrastructure. And if you look at if a community, if you'd rather be growing or not growing, I mean, unfortunately, if you look at certain rural communities in Tennessee,
I agree. Growing. I mean, and that's the kind of the rule number one in business. If you didn't outsell last year, you're dying. I mean, that's just one of those things. And a lot of things. If you are not bigger than you were before, you're dying. It might be slow, but you're not gonna stand that. Again, it's more of a thought experiment to me. I agree with Randy in the sense that government should not be allowed to tell people they can or cannot move to Knox County. Doesn't we have too many people here. You can't move here. I don't feel like that's
all three of us moved to Knox County from somewhere else.
I didn't by choice. I was transplanted.
But I was a Tennessee native anyway.
I was brought down here kicking and screaming, and I'll never go back. So anyway, I'm much happier here. Don't get me wrong. But
at the same time, all right. So government shouldn't tell you can't move here. At the same time, there's you can make the same argument about government should not incentivize moving here. And that's a fine line. Economic development, when it comes to government's involvement, should be sufficient to deal with the current and expected growth. It should never exceed what normal growth.
So Randy's just talking right now is they need to pay for their own baseball stadium. That's what I'm hearing. But
is that what I said?
No, but I we'll go on that one in a minute too. But like again, I'm of the same field as like growth is requirement, growth is a need. But
it's natural.
It's the management that's the concern, which is where government comes in, whether we like it or not. And how do we manage this growth moving forward when we can't fix one intersection that floods every year?
Hey, Matt, how many children do you have?
Laura and I don't have any children right now.
But you're going to have children, right?
Yeah, we plan to.
Natural growth. So how many are you going to have? Those decisions. And here's where it's not almost. Matt and I are in complete agreement. We want a better place for our children, do we not, Matt?
Agreed.
See how that works? So Matt's got a family. He's going to grow a family. Do you want him to stay in Knoxville? Or you want him to move away?
Wherever they would like to live.
I would like my kids to be able to be capable of staying if they want to. I'd like them to be able to work and live here if that's their choice.
That's a good way to say it.
It's a better. That's right. But I mean, we can go into the school system and the issues I have with Knox County schools, but that's not where. So we'll go to the more natural transition of baseball and whether or not, because I personally, my stance on it, the more I've dug into it, there's only two options to me: we build it, we own it, or he builds it himself. There's no middle ground that makes any sense to me other than those two.
Matt, you
go first.
Hey, Matt's going first.
Sam just came in the room. Everybody, Sam's sitting down.
Hey,
so
Sam, how you doing?
If you hear him chime in, he's here too. But again, I mean, because it's been something that was, and this is how things seem to work, at least in my perspective, is it's like rumor, this is happening. And it's like,
too late.
Right.
Decision's already been made.
Is the vote next week? I believe the vote's next week.
The vote to put in a baseball stadium?
No.
Be specific, Matt.
Authority.
Be specific.
On the sports, on the Knox County city.
I thought we were talking about
the
baseball. We're talking about a sports authority.
Well, is that
so we're talking about soccer too?
Well, so it's okay. All right.
Football?
Well, just tell me what's happening, because apparently I'm confused. Randy, please educate me, because I am incapable of knowledge right now.
Matt's got more to say on this, and before I chime in, I've dominated the conversation. You know how I am.
Well, that's what you do, Randy. We know
Matt,
that.
come on. Talk about the sports authority.
Well, Randy Boyd is a big Republican donor, so there's lots of different elements that go into the situation. But KCDP does not have an official stance on the baseball stadium sports authority. I know that there is the vote in city council next week to establish a sports authority. And then there's a vote maybe the week following in county commission to do that too. I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, I don't have an opinion to share about it one way or another. I would say that the KCDP office is in Old City. And so...
you set up some banners and a table out front and hang out for people? And
yeah, I mean, if it did come in, we would have
we'd
have more traffic. But if it did come in, our rent might go up too. So
yeah, well, we can make the baseball stadium a voting center.
We pay rent.
You have to pay for that building. Dang it.
The KC. So like I said, KCDP does not have an official stance or opinion on it, and I
like how both of you kind of like shifted into more careful answer mode when the baseball stadium came up, and I'm curious.
No, actually, I'm not going to be careful at all. The Knox County Republican
well, careful
Party
for you, Randy, is not.
The Knox County Republican Party doesn't have an official stance as it relates to a baseball stadium either.
Okay,
simply because we haven't discussed it. My guess is, as the leader of that organization, if we had that conversation, I got a pretty good idea where the rest of our leadership is going to fall. That being said, I don't speak for him because we haven't had that conversation. I thought we were having a conversation about bringing baseball to Knox County.
No, we're having a conversation about politics, and this is a political conversation. Bringing baseball to Knox County is a political conversation.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. Either the government owns it, and I don't think it's a function of government to own baseball stadium. I'm just not certain that meets the core function of government. That's a political conversation, a philosophical conversation, and I would have to agree with you 100%. It's not government's function to own baseball teams. I don't know of many minor league ball teams that are that successful. I have firsthand knowledge of what happened in Camden, New Jersey with the River Sharks. Millions and millions of taxpayer dollars to build a stadium, and they renovated and cleared out one of the nastiest slums in the nation in Camden, and built it right at the foot of the Ben Franklin Bridge, most beautiful baseball stadium I have ever set foot in. I think we're probably working on 13, 15, 16 months ago. I don't know exactly. I don't live up there anymore, but they tore that baseball stadium down, and the taxpayers, are out that money.
And building another one, or what?
No.
Or they move?
No, it's.
How long ago did they
went
leave?
Out of business.
Okay.
And show me a successful model that government got involved in that type of activity. And Nashville's not one of them. I'm going to tell you right now. Nashville's growing. Yeah, they have a sports authority, but that sports authority isn't making Nashville grow. And it costs more. It costs the taxpayers more because they didn't keep up with infrastructure. They didn't elect. It matters who governs. You can put the cart before the horse. You can say, I'm going to build it and they'll come. But, and I'm all for, like you said, if somebody wants to bring it to the table, fund it, make it go, I'll partner with them. I'll help them with the governmental functions. But owning the baseball stadium, making that go, that's not a function of government. Is there some middle ground? Is there a partnership between what Knox County and the city of Knoxville can bring to the table and what the Smokies organization can bring to the table? Yeah, there might be. I don't know if we're there yet. Having a sports authority oversee that, well, then those people aren't accountable to the public. Where's the interaction between the decisions they make and what it costs the public and the public's input? So those are concerns I have, and I think we'll work through those throughout this process. Whether or not a stadium gets built in Knoxville is yet to be determined. What is the best way forward? Yeah, I don't think we have that answer yet. Those questions are being asked. I've had some of those conversations with county commissioners, briefly with the mayor. I have not talked to any of the city officials. I don't live there. Generally, they don't want to hear anything I have to say anyway. So
to that point, I think we will have a pretty holistic discussion about it because both governing bodies are going to have to speak into the issue. So you're going to have the Knoxville City Council, which is predominantly Democrats, and Knox County Commission, which is predominantly Republicans, both have to weigh in equally on the issue. And I think that will provide us with a pretty holistic discussion about what the situation is.
One of the funniest things I heard about it was, well, if we're going to build a baseball stadium, we need to make sure that all the people employed are public employees. And when I heard that, I was like, well, that kind of goes to what you said about the government owning it. Think about that for a minute. If we're going to have a baseball stadium and it's going to be successful, how many public employees and pensions are we going to absorb, and for how long? And are we going to get the proper ROI on it?
Right. Well, to me, in my,
I'm still waiting on the Lord of the Rings village in South Knoxville. That was
what happened to that?
What?
I remember hearing about that. Was it was it like he was having?
Oh, the mud huts.
Yeah, he was having a permit problem or something. Anyway,
I don't know.
It was Randy Boyd's dad.
I don't know anything about it.
Who was?
I read stuff that the paper prints, but most of what they.
I mean, it seemed like a fun idea, just like a little kind of.
Well, I think it was a fun idea.
Who cares?
The issue was it was copyright infringement.
That was the problem. Well,
it was knock off Lord of the Rings.
The book like his dad had written, so this place was going to be based on the book that he quoted.
Oh, because he said it publicly. Yeah, stupid legalities. But
I will say a note about when Randy Boyd became president of the University of Tennessee, he promised that he would cease political donations, and that promise has not been kept. He has donated to political campaigns, political causes. He has a PAC. Members of his family donate to political causes, and I think that's highly inappropriate for a sitting state educational official.
All right, I don't have an opinion on that, honestly. I follow your logic on it. I don't have an opinion, but all right. So let me back up a second. The vote is on Monday on whether to make a sports authority for Knox City County / whatever. See, this goes again to why don't we just go fucking Metro already? Let's save a fucking step. But anyway, that's a separate thing. Because I think Matt would be a fan of Metro. I think it would be advantageous for his party.
Who said I was a fan of Metro?
I'm saying that I would think you would be. I didn't say you were. I said I would think that it would be a benefit to your party if it was one unified government instead of the two separate ones.
Well, I
How
think
so?
we,
They don't win
I think we
county
do very
races.
well with Knoxville City Council and City Mayor right now. I like Mayor Kincannon more than Mayor Jacobs, and I like the City Council decisions more than the county commissions.
Well, I mean, I have preferences on which James Bond I like better too, but I don't necessarily say that one's not functional. I was always a Sean Connery fan, rest in peace.
Yeah,
But-
I would prefer
I
a
like Roger
government
Moore.
that doesn't give, taxpayer dollars away or recommend giving taxpayer dollars
Okay.
away.
If I'm catching the inference correctly, this apology and $100 million fund thing that's going on with the vice mayor, I'm a little confused on that. I don't quite understand. Like,
I think everybody's confused
well,
on that.
all right, so
It's $100 million funded via
grants and
grant
such
money.
over 10 years.
Yeah,
Right.
free money that nobody knows anything about.
Well,
from a
grant-
number of different sources.
money borrowed on the backs of our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, on generations yet to be
Funds-
born that will
funds
never
from numerous
never
different
pay it
funding
back.
All right, hold on. Go ahead, Matt.
To-
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh,
Matt, we missed that whole bit. Restate your last sentence.
I said funds from numerous different entities and funding sources that are available for programs directed at what the resolution is talking about.
Right. And then my middle ground on that is grant
Specifically?
money's going to be spent whether it's spent on us or not. So take it if you can get it would be my stance on that. I agree that federal grants and any federal money coming in is a problem in the future that nobody really bothers thinking about. But grant money's going to get spent. We might as well take it. That's for what it's worth on my end of that. This might be my white privilege talking or however you want to word it. What are we apologizing for? That's where I get stuck. We're apologizing for what?
Decades of housing discrimination.
Okay.
For decades of housing discrimination and urban removal, I mean a systemic effort to remove African American populations.
Right, which is shitty.
With
Who in the city council, which mayor was in office when that happened?
I mean, it was a whole process. I mean, it was pretty. I mean, specifically
People
the
the public
resolution
elected.
1950 to 1973 or something.
People
I
the
mean,
public elected. Same.
if you look at the Civic Coliseum, if you look where the interstate comes through, if you look at where certain public buildings are,
Right. No. Again, I understand. I get the history of it, and again the history and the process of redlining and all that different shit. Like I remember, and this is, I'm sorry, Dad, you don't listen anyway. I cuss too much, but I remember when. I think it was when we were still in Wisconsin at the time, a black family moved into the neighborhood, and my dad made what at the time I didn't understand at all, which I guess it's technically a racist comment or whatever. He's like, that's going to lower house values. And it's like, ooh, that's a weird thing to say. And I was a kid, so I didn't really get it. And the more I've thought about it, the more I think like, it's not necessarily that it's a racist thing on my dad's part. It was a reality thing because that's what the reality was, and it was shitty. Now, it may have been racist too. I'm not going to speak for my dad in that sense because I don't know. I couldn't say yes or no. I don't think he is, other than he is of the age group where his traditional things may come off a little racist or whatever, but that's not the point. Again, I just don't like. I don't understand who's apologizing to who. The city of Knoxville is apologizing to the black community of Knoxville.
the city council is apologizing for past city council efforts that were aimed at systemic removal of the black population from certain parts of the city.
So only blacks got moved.
It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Well, no, that's what he's saying. So,
well, no, hold
so
on.
this
hold on.
is
No, stop. Stop. Don't make me push the button. I'll push the button.
Push the button.
I don't want to push the button. It's okay.
ahead.
So again, this I don't know if I shared it with you, but I know I shared it with you, Matt. Where I'm on that email list. I get all the stuff that Burchett does. I get like a notification when Burchett votes on something or whatever. Did I send that to you, right, Matt? Whereas Burchett had just voted, and I can't remember what it was, but it was some stupid thing about whether the United States federal government should. God, what was the phrasing on it? It was going to drive me crazy. But it was basically saying whether or not we should tell other countries how to do shit, but not actually do anything about it, but just strongly word a letter to them. And it's like, to me, if we're putting anything on paper in government, it needs to be something of substance. And an apology, whether an apology is deserved or not, if it's on paper, it's not an apology isn't of substance. It's not doing anything. It's not going to change anything. I'm good with taking the grant money thing and doing what we can to help the different communities that are struggling out. I have no problem with that. But this weird apology is bringing up a 40s, 50s, 60s issue, and it's putting back into today. Something that we should be moving past, but instead we keep rehashing it and rebringing it up and making it a central issue that, again, and I started this whole thing with this might be my white privilege showing.
Thousands of people's lives for 50 years, the repercussions of what have happened. And I would say if you spoke to someone within the Black community and you talked to them about what the repercussions of these actions were on their community and what it would mean to them
for an apology,
have the city officially apologize for systemic action that was taken.
Okay, I will make it a point to specifically
matter, and from in a philosophical theological perspective, what we say and what we articulate matters.
Now here's part of the problem is I don't know how to go about and have that conversation without the initiation of said conversation being racist in of itself, because I'm just going to walk up to a Black guy and be like, hey, how do you feel about this? Even though I don't know if you've been in Knoxville for 5 years or 50 years. But not even that point aside, it's like, I don't know. Maybe again, I would like to be able to ask that question. I really would. I'd like to know that answer from a number of people, and specifically people that aren't active in the community in the sense that they are part of groups and they're part of things and they're doing stuff. Just a guy on the street doing his job, doing the work, doing whatever he does in his day-to-day life. Not somebody who is an activist.
Actually, we should go to the Beck Cultural Center sometime. And meet the director of the Beck Cultural Center and talk about, some of these issues. I think it would be a very interesting conversation.
I'm game. Let's set it up for the first of the year. I'll do it. I'll pack this whole thing up and take it with me, and we'll do a show. I mean, it's hard for me to fathom shit. Like, my dad hasn't apologized to me for picking me up as a freshman in high school and moving me away from all my friends. And it doesn't change who I am today. Or even if he did apologize to me, it's not going to change who I am today. It was a traumatic life experience for me when that happened. But move forward. I can't. An apology is not going to. I don't know if an apology is going to change that. It might fix my relationship with my dad a little bit, but I don't know. I mean,
so my question would be: did your dad do that was the purpose of your dad moving so that he could disrupt your life and make you miserable? And does he owe you an apology? Or does he owe you a better explanation?
I get where you're getting at with that, but that's not
handled it better.
I think this is a really bad.
That's a bad. Yeah, I was to say I get where you're going with it, but that's a terrible analogy in the sense that. It was for the greater good of the community.
Because I had the same issue with my son who first started high school.
Okay,
when we moved to Knox County.
Sorry, Matt. He was actually asking a real question directly.
I was asking a real question simply because I understand what you just said implicitly because I've lived it.
Right. Okay.
And I can tell you that.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt. He was not making an analogy there. He was actually asking that question because he did to his kid what my dad did to me. He's not analogizing this to.
Right. No.
Right.
So,
okay.
So here's my thing. And this is probably what bothers me more than anything. We are using a horrible period of history to as a ruse. That's all this is, in my opinion. And this is simply my opinion. I believe we're using it in a ruse to fleece the public of much needed public funds, so that it's driven to a pet project.
All right, Randy got his piece. Matt, go.
I could not disagree more. To say or imply that a wonderful, dedicated public servant, Gwen McKenzie, is using this as some sort of ruse for taxpayer money is absolutely wrong. I mean, Vice Mayor McKenzie is very determined and very understanding of this situation, and the idea that she would use this as some ruse, I think, is ridiculous. I mean, this is a serious issue that has serious historical repercussions for people who are still alive today.
So before we rolled it out, she should have had a plan in place and specifics. $100 million for what? From where to go where to do what?
It discusses that
And
there
an
was the
apology
establishment of
apology
hold
has
on.
nothing to do with it.
Randy, ask a question, let him answer.
This is the beginning of what the resolution says. It says that there will be an advisory committee that's established. It says that there will be specific funds that will be requested for projects that are related to the resolution and related to the topic of the resolution.
Hold on. So, okay. No, I'm trying to follow that. Okay, so
I'm trying to think of many, projects that have come in to where, the questions that you've asked have not been answered for most of the things for funding. You never find out where all that money's coming from.
Nor,
right.
You just automatically expect
nor
that.
do we usually find out
You're
where it
you're
went.
setting this one thing to a higher standard.
Believe me, I can tell you firsthand, nor do we ever find out where it actually went
Right.
once it's distributed.
No, the comptroller should be able to. But that's a different story.
Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry. Comptroller's an inside joke for regular listeners of the show, and I don't want to start down that train. I'm still holding on to that. I still haven't figured out what I'm doing with that piece. But again, all right. I don't know how to. I don't want to move off this and just kind of leave it why like that. I just think it's I don't know. Like the problem to me is that there doesn't seem to be a functional solution to how to settle the conversation of race, but
the solution's not to not talk about it.
I agree with that, and again, I would argue that there are not a lot of people that are willing to go through the diatribe that I just went through 5 minutes ago, in public, in questioning what's going on here, just for face value of it. I have not enough listeners that I care to lose any of them, so it doesn't matter. I love all you guys. Thank you for listening. But my point being is that the way the culture has shifted around this conversation, it's gotten to where any opposition, whether it be a financial opposition or whether it be is there any real gain in this version of whatever somebody's suggesting, so taking this particular one out, but saying, okay, I see that you have a project, you have an idea, you want to do something on this particular issue. Anything that goes into race right now is it like so many other things are so AB anymore, where if there's any pushback, if I say, hold on a second, let's talk about this for a second, or I have a question about this, it's not conversation. We're generally not allowed to have that conversation.
Right, you won't get that conversation. The first response is you're a Republican. You hate poor people. You're a racist. You hate black people. You're this. You'll get labeled. The second you don't agree, the second you fall outside of that narrative,
right. There's a narrative on top of
you're done.
Right, and that's my issue with it personally. Is that in some of the things that I just said, you do not hear people talk about publicly. Maybe me and you sitting down together in a bar or something like that when we were allowed to do that, hanging out, just chit-chatting, me and the guys out in the woods a couple weeks ago when we were doing our hunting trip. That's a conversation maybe a few buddies have together on the side that are politically active guys, but that's not a public conversation we're allowed to have. Because again, to me, it's like, I really would like to understand how an official apology does anything for anybody. The $100 million over 10 years through grant money or whatever. I see.
What harm do you think it's doing?
Again, vocalizing and telling the truth. I mean, it's truth telling. It's telling the truth about what happened, and telling the truth is an important aspect of governing and an important aspect of community.
Right, but I'm not sorry for anything because I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
and when my government is apologizing on my behalf,
I wasn't living here when it occurred, but I'm going to pay for it.
Apologizing for actions by the city council.
That's just weird. I mean, that's okay. All right. I mean, again, I don't. All right. I guess I don't know how to. I don't know if I'm articulating my side well enough to get it through, because I'm not.
I think you're getting way too defensive.
So I think there's some misconception that because a segment of the population was impacted negatively, or the perception is they were impacted negatively.
I don't think it's a perception, to be fair, Randy.
Well, let me finish my
Go
statement. The people that were elected to public office made decision, good, bad, or otherwise. They were elected to make that decision. Those decisions were made decades ago. The people we elect to public office now, we want them to focus and deal with real world problems today. Is there a segment of the population that is just as racist as they were back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s? Yeah, until all those people are dead and gone, I'm sure that'll still exist.
All right, time out. Go, Matt.
So first of all, the black population was systematically targeted.
Agree. Right.
It wasn't just a happenstance. I mean, it was directly on purpose. And second of all, in order to govern now in the current, you have to understand and address the history. Yes, that was decades ago, but everything that we are doing, everything that we exist in now has historical precedence, has historical trajectory. And some of the issues that that Knoxville's community faces, particularly the black community, is baked into historical happenings, historical events, historical issues that were not that long ago. And you can't begin to address those or govern those issues until you tell the truth and are honest about the historical trajectories that created those.
Okay, all right, you're okay. And Sam made a good point too. Is that it doesn't necessarily hurt anything. It doesn't necessarily. It may not. If my opinion is correct, and it doesn't do any actual good to publicly apologize as a government or whatever. I don't know. My concern is that it reopens the wound, but I don't think that may be overplaying.
I think it heals the wound. I think it begins. I think it's part of the process of healing.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I don't have a next topic.
Let's move on to something else. No, before we get off it, real quick. I need to say this because Matt, portrayed something that I said in a light that I certainly didn't intend it. I appreciate Gwen McKenzie's commitment to the city of Knoxville and the people she represents, as do her husband. There's another gentleman that runs around Knox County. He's been around for a very long time. Some of the same people that the local newspaper of record quoted in their article today, I've associated with. And I'm not going to name names because I didn't talk to him before I came on, and he's a public figure. He's not an elected official, but he and I have had at length conversations about this specific issue and many others as it relates to the healing process. I cannot tell you how many times I've broke bread with this gentleman. We get along famously, as we should. We're human beings. He's a little bit older than I am.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible.
We're not the exact same generation, but we're pretty close. So I'm telling you that he and I get along famously. And he has some of the same questions and issues that I do. And we don't always agree. So whether you agree with me or not, to characterize what I said about the intent of Gwen McKenzie's, and I use the term loosely, ill-advised resolution or plan.
So it was. So
again,
it was.
That was not my intent. I'm telling you.
The intent was not to say that she is chasing the money down for personal gains or something like that for her own either financial or political ends. Was not the intent.
We don't account for the money we already spend. So before we go and ask for $100 million more from taxpayers, how about we account for what we've already given our government?
I mean,
let's ferret that out first.
Right. And so to go without
there's a better way to fund this. Without grant funding ain't it.
Without being specific on this issue, there is the conversation about how much we spend and collect and the results that we get for it. That's a major issue with
Exactly.
me. I don't have a specific on that, but to just kind of push off this onto something else, I don't have a specific something else, but
my biggest concern is the intent. Her intent might very well be
Randy,
to
I'm
help
trying to-
her community.
I'm trying to push
but,
off this. Come
But
on, let's
my
put this on the
concern is with the people that are currently governing, they're going to get less and less, and it's going to get worse and worse.
Hey, Tennessee won a football game, guys.
Vice Mayor Glenn McKenzie, a venerable public servant, is making a good faith, honest effort to address a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and I am very glad that she's doing that, and I think she serves our whole city very well.
Okay, so pin done. Next thing. I don't have a next thing. Who's got a next thing? Get something quick so we don't go rehash it again.
Or we don't have dead air.
I don't want to talk about the Vols.
Yeah, we won a football game. Whatever.
Yes, I don't want to talk
Army
about
Navy
it.
game.
That's all I was gonna say.
Who won? Hey Matt, you got a TV close by? Who won?
There's a TV right there, but I don't have.
Let me Google it.
Don't Google it. We'll be 10 minutes looking for internet information.
I got football scores.
2021 election cycle.
Army beat Navy 15-0. Sorry.
Damn.
You don't have to apologize to me. I don't play on that ball team. I'm retired Navy.
If they were doing it on a ship, it might have been better off.
Look,
anyway, bad jokes, people.
When we went to war in the Middle East,
Which time?
I swore the first one, and
It's
I
the same between the
yeah,
same
I
one
was
the whole
there.
time.
So anyway, when we did, I swore then that I would never again, because we were ferrying some folks in country. I swore then I would never again, until all of that was over, say, "Go Navy, beat Army," and I won't.
Okay, so we are going to go down this road. That is one of the things about the game, and it's one of the things disappointing about the many things that have been disappointing about this year and all the impacts that COVID have had on our lives, is that traditionally the Army-Navy game was the only game on today. And as somebody who has an Army dad and a Navy brother and all that kind of stuff, who neither of them gave a shit about it. Like they were simply like, oh, it's football. I didn't get into the Navy to care about football. Yeah. But the whole story and the whole pomp and the whole thing about that game is always nice. Like I've always enjoyed that it's the one game of the weekend. I'm a degenerate gambler, so I gamble on it anyway, even though I don't know shit about either team. There's always been something nice about that game, and the normal sense when they have both, like the stands are filled and you have all the cadets in from both schools and all that stuff, and just the whole thing. There's something about that game that is special, regardless of the fact that it's just a football game for guys that are going to go off and do what they do in reality, as opposed to just playing football. But I guess to get across the finality of the point is that it's a bummer that we had 20 other games on today. I missed that part of the Army-Navy game today, of its specialness and what it is. And it is. It's a special game because there's something about the idea. I was trying to explain to one of my kids. These two groups, their entire lives, have one combined mission together. But they compete with each other all the time on all sorts of different avenues, and this is the one big one that we all get to be a part of. And it's these two groups that they will fight to death on this field. And at the end of the day, when it comes to doing whatever they're doing, they will stand side by side and do whatever their job actually is at the end of the day. And there's something special about that, and I do enjoy that personally.
And when I was a kid, the Democrat Party and Republican Party were just like
Democratic. I'm on it, Matt. I'm with you.
I'm sorry, Matt. My apologies.
But I don't.
See, I can apologize.
Yes, you can.
Old habits are hard to break.
Hey, I do. You can't see it, Randy, but I have a Naval Academy mug right here on my desk. I didn't go to Naval Academy, but I went there for a conference one time and got this. And one of my friends from high school went to Naval Academy.
It's a pretty good mug, Randy. I'll explain it to you.
Jim Kubiak was an ensign on the Eisenhower, and he was the quarterback for Navy for a long time. Wanted to play on waivers, and the reactor officer didn't want to let him go. He ended up in the engineering department in my division. We had a lot of fun. That young man learned an awful lot.
And the inevitable Randy Pace sea story begins.
He became a good sailor.
Fact. Who's the only president to graduate from the Naval Academy? Anybody know?
Gerald Ford.
No.
Damn it. Oh, wait, no. Carter.
Jimmy Carter. You got it. Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. I actually read something. He was considered one of the most intelligent presidents ever. Apparently had like damn near genius level IQ, was in naval intelligence.
He's a nuclear officer.
There's a contradiction in terms.
All right, so let's so just to dive into federal for a second. I think we'll I don't know. I got all night. We can go as long as you guys want. I didn't have a specific time frame in mind. We just passed an hour. We can go for 5. I don't give a shit.
Are you kidding me? That was only an hour?
Well, when you talk the whole time, it doesn't seem like as much.
I'm so sorry, Matt. I am so sorry, buddy. Really.
But, what's funny is that I get to complain about you what everybody else on the normal show complains about me. I'm the one that talks too much. But so is anybody a Jimmy Dore fan? You guys listen to the Jimmy Dore podcast? Jimmy Dore podcast?
Not familiar.
Did you listen to the one I sent to you, Sam?
No.
Okay.
Quit giving me homework like the day before our podcast.
It's a fucking podcast. You turn it on and listen. It's not a homework. Anyway,
shit to do.
Jimmy Dore does he's a comedian technically, but he does a podcast and it's all politics.
Oh, I love those guys.
He's a populist Democrat, I guess would be the best way to put it, or a progressive. He's on the far. He would be on the further left than. He's further left to me, at least in my understanding of it, which is. I got into him because I was trying to expand my listening ship, because I have a couple of libertarians that I listen to hardcore and I don't listen to anybody else. And so I was trying to expand into, and then I got Ben Shapiro over here and Jimmy Dore over there.
Yeah, but Ben Shapiro just isn't that funny.
Well, I mean, it's not.
You got to get past that voice. Oh my God!
Well,
welcome to Nashville. I love the fact that Tennessee's benefiting from that whole organization.
It's funny though that Ben Shapiro moved to Tennessee, but he moved to Nashville, which is the most democratic part of Tennessee.
Now you're thinking, Matt. You're thinking.
He's a city boy. I mean, he's a California Republican, which is a Democrat everywhere else in the country anyway. But I mean, to go back to the point, Jimmy Dore.
Republicans in California.
Jimmy Dore, go ahead.
Jimmy Dore had a segment on the show that that really kind of resonated with me, and this is going to be national politics, not local. The House passed, or the federal government as a whole passed the extension to keep the government open. And then we also passed Department of Defense Authorization Act, whatever it's DODAA or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But we don't have another stimulus. We don't have any other COVID relief fund going on. We have a near $1 trillion military budget passed, but we can't get the almost 20 million people that are about to get evicted from their homes any help.
Simple solution: pass a budget.
That helps.
Stop with continuing resolutions.
But my real point is regardless of extending for me, the real point is regardless of extending, keeping the government open another week, is that how have we not had anything put in place since March? We've had nothing in place other than the extension of unemployment since March. And we can pass a near $1 trillion defense bill, but we can't
because government's primary mission is what?
Well, how many other countries does it take to get to the budget we spend on military?
All right, that didn't work. Let me try this. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. I mean, and
Mitch McConnell is the Speaker of the Senate. So
look, your government is broken. You're not going to get an argument to the contrary from moi.
Check.
There's the bipartisan discussions on COVID relief bill right now, but they've been stalled by Mitch McConnell, who keeps trying to drag it down and drag it down and drag it down.
See this is perfect for me because I mean? This is exactly what I expected out of the two.
Your government is broken.
Right. This is exactly what I expected out of the two of you, and it's not offense to the two of you, but it was going to be one of you. It's Pelosi's fault. The other one is McConnell's fault.
No.
And if we go further into that, it's Trump's fault.
It is our fault.
I agree, and
it's the public's fault.
Right. It's our fault for putting these dumbasses in place over and over and over again. But it's I don't know, like because the problem for me, and one of the problems that's been a running problem for me, is that when we talk budgets, we talk spending money, we don't know where the fuck it all goes, but bipartisan. And this is a Jimmy Dore thing too. It's like if you have bipartisan agreement, it's just them agreeing to fuck me and you, the taxpayer. And that's one of his jokes. And as I get deeper,
and he's a Democrat.
Well,
I would put him as much.
I think that's too much. I mean, look at the bill that people like Joe Manchin, Rob Portman, Bill Cassidy in Louisiana are championing right now. I mean, it's not as much as
the bottom line
Democrats would like, and I'm sure it's not as little as some Republicans would like, but it's at least a good faith effort.
But I mean, but we can quickly go through the paperwork and agree and sign off on assisting Saudi Arabia in the continued issues in Yemen and being in Afghanistan and being in Iraq and being all over there. We can agree on that shit. We can agree on going around the world and killing all sorts of fucking people all over the planet, but we can't agree on making sure that 20 million Americans have a place to live come January? How is that? How is it possible that we can't focus on a solution for that more than we can make sure that we can sign that fucking check to go kill people all over the fucking world?
I mean, I would argue the Democrats have been trying to address the COVID relief.
And this comes into the cathedral thing, if we want to go into that we were talking about on the chat. So this is a phrase that's been thrown about in a couple different circles and a couple different podcasts I listen to. It's a little bit on the conspiracy theory-ish side, but at the end of the fucking day, I'm getting to the point where it's hard not to see it anymore. And that the two parties, the two of you sitting here next to each other, and maybe not intentionally, well, you're not truly sitting next to each other, but especially on the federal level, that there is either intentional or unintentional understanding that the status quo needs to stay. And the status quo being that the flip-flop of the House, the flip-flop of the Senate, the flip-flop of the presidency, that this whole thing needs to stay the way it is. Because, this is a Ben Shapiro one, the best thing that could happen to Joe Biden is the Republicans take these 2 Senate seats in Georgia. Because if they don't...
No, I mean, it's what divided government looks like. It's what divided government looks like when you have one party in control of the House.
Right, but the only thing that they can agree on is killing people around the world, just not helping us.
From 2016 to 2018, the Republicans held the House, Senate, and the presidency. And what did they do? What did they accomplish?
Nothing, because they didn't want to. That's the point. And that's why Biden needs the Republicans to win Georgia, because if he has a blue Senate, a blue House, and a blue White House and doesn't do shit like he's not gonna do, then it's clear he has the excuse if the Senate's red.
I don't follow that logic. I don't understand.
I don't know. Again, this is
right, so
I told you it was a little conspiracy theory-ish.
Wait.
Democrats are ready to govern and want to govern.
Yeah, I don't get the automatic assumption that nothing's going to be done. I mean, every party says that of the opposite party anytime at the beginning of the election, like, they're not going to do anything.
I mean, look at what the Democrats accomplished from 2008, 2010 versus what the Republicans accomplished from 2016, 2018.
Apparently, that's laughable to Randy. That is before I started paying attention.
That's when the ACA was passed. So I'm sure Randy doesn't like that.
All right, so.
But I mean, even the ACA is wait, which one's the ACA? Let me make sure I'm
Affordable Care Act.
Okay, I was making sure. I wanted to stop a second and make sure I was referencing correctly.
And that's
even
why
that
I'm
was a
laughing.
shit version of what Biden or what Obama tried to put together.
Right.
It's what could be passed at that time.
Yeah,
Right, but
that's politics.
But this is when everybody's on the...
And who passed that? Yeah, look, it's not conspiracy theory. Here's what it is. And again, I'm not going to apologize for all the ills of the Republican Party. And both the Republican and Democrat Party nationwide. Democratic.
You're welcome,
Party,
Matt.
Nationwide own where we're at. How's it going to get fixed? You doing what you're doing right now. Call them on it. Say, hey, I've had enough. When the public decides they've had enough and they want to change, then the ills that you're pointing out will stop. That's the only way. We are a participatory government. You've heard me say it before. And until more people participate, it ain't gonna get fixed.
Right, and then right, and I it's something that it feels weird to say.
You don't have to take my word for it.
No,
you don't have to take Matt's
I agree with you
word for
because
it.
it's at the end of the
That's
day,
the
this is our
reality
fault.
of it.
We created this mess, and we allow it to continue. And the problem for me personally, and I'm actually kind of losing some of my libertarianness as I get further along in conversation. I'm still base principles. I'm still kind of that direction, but the end of the day, there's a significant problem in government as a whole, federally specifically, that it goes back into where we started when we were talking gerrymandering and stuff like that. There are methods I'm lost. The cathedral part of things, in that there is methods and understanding that keeping the adversarial standard status quo, it's the Democrats' fault, it's the Republicans' fault, it's the House's fault because they're controlled by X, it's the Senate's fault because they're controlled by Y, whatever that is good for the two players in the game. it's not good for me and you as a citizen. It's not good for the community as a whole, but it's good for those people to keep playing that game. And the media continues to propagate it. And even social media at some level is starting to play the game too, because they're playing that game because the government has the ability to threaten the regulations and all the different shit that they're trying to play in that side of it. And so to try to keep themselves under or out from under the thumb of the government, the social media is jumping on board and stuff like that. And again, that's the premise of the cathedral to me, is that whether it's intentional or not, it's not like there's some secret cabal of 10 people that get together and then they go out and pass it off to the different people, and it disseminates down the hill and all the people fall in line. It's that there is an understanding, fairly speaking, in the way the government and the media play together and all that kind of stuff, that as long as we keep this going, we can stay where we're at. It may not be great, it may not be good, but we can stay where we're at. And that's how you get a Pelosi and a McConnell and a Biden and half the other people in the Bush family and all the other different stuff that stay in government forever and continue to keep the same thing going and not making any significant changes for the benefit of the mass.
So and not that
hold on.
Ahead.
You always start. Matt, go
ahead, Matt.
I would say that the core aspect of how our system is made to work, constitutional system, is compromise. Particularly when we have a two-party system, we don't have a parliamentary system that's built on coalitions where there's multiple parties and this party has to align with this party and this party has to align with that party. And so part of that is inevitable. I would say, though, that I do think the partisan nature of gridlock has gotten worse over the last 40 years or so. And that compromise has really just turned into a default setting to adversarial nature, that it is just, we've got to beat them, we've got to get reelected, we have to pin this on them, and it goes back and forth in that regard. And I think part of that in the national realm, I think historical trajectory, there's a lot of adversarialness that came around with Newt Gingrich when he became Speaker of the House.
Well, hold on. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It was just the idea that, yeah, I right. But again, this goes.
Just the nature of the government is built on compromise. And I would also say that I think it's too broad a stroke to say that nothing's happened, no developments have happened. I mean, if you look at the last 50 years of legislation, you've had Civil Rights Act, you've had the Voting Rights Act, you've had more movement towards legislation for LGBT equality and women's equality. The function that the United States is still the greatest country in the world is because we still have been able to develop. I just think it's too broad of a stroke to say that nothing has been done in government over the last 50 years, because there's a lot that's been done in government. Some of it's bad, some of it's good, but it's not that we're not in a total gridlock.
I mean, it's within human nature to focus on the bad and kind of forget about the good at times. Because the bad's going to affect you more. I mean, if something's going good, okay, you're happy. But if something, is bad, you're going to focus on that, and that's all you really remember, because that affects you more and
there have been positive
more
developments in government over the last 50 years. And yes, there has been gridlock. Of course, there's been gridlock. But the idea to say that the government has done nothing or has only done bad things over the last 50 years, I think is too broad of a stroke to make.
Okay. All right. I can get on board with that as a correction.
That being said, I do think that the gridlock and the partisanship of that gridlock is getting worse and worse. And I don't know what the ultimate end of that is, but it can't be what's going on now.
I think Texas is going to say, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. And then it's going to get real weird.
I think a lot of it's just
posturing. I don't think that's going to happen. I think public participation is what takes us past that partisan divide. I believe that.
Right.
And I, honestly, it's not going to happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight. Matt, you said it yourself. The partisanship over the past 4 decades has grown tremendously. When I was a kid,
Right, because
It
realistically,
wasn't that way.
right, realistically, because I remember when I first started dipping my toe in politics and then ran away scared, is there wasn't the existential threat of the other that there is now. That's been propagated. And again, homework that probably still hasn't been done by Sam was the social dilemma. Anybody do the Netflix special Social Dilemma?
Well, I had a book for you. I forgot to bring.
Matt, did you watch Social Dilemma?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
Okay, so essentially it breaks down the how the social media is impacting us as a society, and how the algorithm is doing what the algorithm does, and it works. Randy's laughing right now because he doesn't.
I'm laughing because it's social media, the advent of the internet, it's degrading society at an exponential rate. It's bad.
Because so the episode that we started talking about it on, Max had a great story. He was driving down the interstate with his wife. This was back in October, late October. Driving down the interstate with his wife, and there was a couple of nice old pickup trucks. Not new, they're new. They're not old. New pickup trucks with some Trump flags or whatever driving down the interstate. It was when Trump was in Chattanooga, or not Chattanooga, but Tri-Cities or whatever. Or there was a Trump rally. Anyway, that's beside the point. So some little car comes up, and this lady is rolled down the window and is hanging out the window of her car on the interstate, flipping off these trucks, cussing them out, screaming and yelling. And Max's whole point was, how did we get to this point? You have no fucking clue who was in that truck. Just because they have a Trump flag hanging off that truck, you don't know anything about him, but you're willing to hang your head out of your vehicle on the interstate, flipping them off, screaming and cussing and all this kind of shit. How did we get there? And the reality is that the way we have developed in the last 5-6 years inside social media, and even in just general media at that point,
it started before that. It's probably just been exponential growth,
right?
But it started before that.
But the idea that to that person in that car, that a Trump supporter is so evil and terrible that I have to do this thing to express how evil and terrible they are. Mm-hmm. You know,
I mean, also, at what point did we start flying flags of like our preferred candidate on our trucks?
I mean, we've done some version of that in some way.
We've done that since we had.
Bush flags or George W.
We
Bush
rode on
hats.
horseback and did that.
Well,
Come on,
hold
Matt.
on, because when you guys were in here last time, Matt, you gave the nice gift of that button.
Yeah, but there weren't Reagan Bush flags flying on trucks or.
Did you see?
Right, but there was
All right.
there were people walking around the town square with the button of their preferred candidate on, right. and those
Matt,
things came from.
And I mean this, and it's a joke. It's funny. It just is funny.
It's probably not funny because he prefaced it, but go ahead.
It really is. It's funny. How many pickup trucks did you see running down the interstate with a Biden flag? I mean, I get what you're saying, Matt. We are hyper sensitive. We are hyper engaged in name recognition and what sells.
But furthermore, the point,
and that 6-second soundbite, when we should be earnestly involved in how our communities are managed, run, governed, and by extension, what our government at the federal level is doing.
Okay.
To bring it full circle back to our first conversation, I think that part of the acceleration of
say the other word. I like that word better. It's more fun. Acceleratorization. It's great.
Come on, Matt. Go.
Is because of redistricting, because you have less and less competitive races. And when you have less and less competitive races, people have to win their primary. And to win their primary, they have to appeal to the furthest part of their party. And if you look at how many congressional seats were competitive 50 years ago versus how many congressional seats are competitive now, it's exponentially lower. And again, that means that the people are not trying to win a general election where you have to appeal to a broad swath of people. They're trying to win a primary where you have to appeal to a small group of people.
I disagree.
But because it still runs to the fact that the whatever the district is going to vote by the letter next to the person's name, not by the quality of the person.
I did, and yes, exactly. So I've lived it. I ran for public office against the same party, unseated ne'er-do-wells. Honestly, I got rid of a whole bunch of pay to play, and that blah 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 blah. I've lived it. So this is not a partisan issue. This is a bad government issue. This is a bad character issue. This is a failure of the public's ability, because they're working two jobs, because they're focused on the internet and 10,000 other different things, to engage in the civilly. It's incumbent upon every single one of us to play a part. And not enough people are playing. So what ends up happening is we abdicate that responsibility to a very select few. And when they've done it long enough, they lead us down a primrose path with regularity, and we end up holding the bag. That's
right,
in a nutshell,
right,
Matt.
and to agree with you in the sense that that's from both parties,
Yes.
not one or the other.
Yes.
All right. So I don't know. I'm kind of running out of stuff, so I don't know
Well,
what else.
I had something I thought would be interesting actually for both of us to talk about. Is this year we have TNDP elections and then KCDP elections for officers. Do you have that too, Randy?
Party? You doing party seats?
Reorganization. Yes, party reorganization.
Okay, yeah. So I thought we could talk about that process a little bit, and yeah.
Actually, that's a great idea.
For the
Matt,
other half of us that are not in the know, how does that happen?
Yeah, actually, I probably 6 months to a year after I moved to Knoxville, I took a deep dive into how the Democrat Party in Knox County Democratic Party in Knox.
Come on, man.
Look, you know something? I put my left leg in my pants first. So at any rate, I took a deep dive, and there is some difference, but in the grand scheme of things, you got the same officers, you got the same people, you have committees, we pretty much do stuff the same way. Probably the most significant difference between the way the Democrat Party in Knox County organizes and the Knox County Republican Party organizes.
Party.
No, not Republic.
Exactly. That
was nice. That was cute.
Sam coming in clutch.
I get it. Democratic Party, Republican, not Republic. Yeah, pretty.
There you go. You just got to get it. All right. It's all right. Anyway,
here's a great idea. We got bigger fish to fry. Are you a girl or a woman?
We're not going down there. I don't want to do that one. But I get what you're saying. That is it
back to story time?
You say tomato, I say tomato.
Is it really?
So anyway,
is it really that
you
important?
organize by district. You have district leadership. Actually, one of the district leaders for the Democrat Party lives right next door to me, for those of you that didn't know. And we get along. Her daughters think I hung the moon. I'm serious. So, yeah, totally in agreement there. No, I didn't hung the moon. I thank the world of my neighbor's daughters.
How does the how does the GOP organize then? I know you have like clubs, right? Are they geographically assigned?
No, actually, there are 12 Republican clubs throughout Knox County. They are autonomous. They are not officially sanctioned or affiliated with the party. They're supportive, but they do not have a voting voice on the executive committee.
Who is the executive committee made up then?
So the executive committee is made up of a chairman, a vice chair, treasurer, vice treasurer, secretary, vice secretary, the leader or president of the local Republican Women's, the leader of the local Young Republicans, and there used to be a Jewish coalition, but they are sanctioned or officially identified by the county party as having that leadership role. If there were 3 Republican women organizations, they would rotate every 2 years. Every year. A different president of a different organization would have a voting voice. And then the remaining 6 members are made up of state executive committee members. And that's in accordance with the state bylaws. So you have a man and a woman from every Senate district that represents Knox County. So that's Knox County's executive committee. And then in addition to that, you have ad hoc committees, and you have, other standing committees that do various other functions.
And so I would say, if any listeners who are interested in getting involved in either the Democratic Party or the GOP in Knox County, reorganization, at least for us, is a really good time for you to get involved, where you can become a precinct chair, you can come to the reorganization meeting, you can
Randy's excited. If you can't,
Matt, you hit the nail on the head, brother. You and I are always looking for fresh faces and
good
new
volunteers.
right.
ideas.
And for those of you out there that don't want to affiliate with either party, I'm going to try to get the Knox County, any other party that has any
Libertarian. There's the Libertarian Party.
I know I can't. Whatever.
Followed me on Twitter the other day. I think. I don't know.
Who?
Hey, Hey, Matt, that would be a great lunch. Let's sit down with the Libertarian Party chair.
No bullshit. You're doing that on my show.
Come on, man. Hey, Josh, you listening?
No, Josh is state chair.
I'm sorry.
KCDP, like Randy said, KCDP is a little different than Knox County Republicans. We have chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and then we have 2 representatives, male and female, from each county commission seat. So there's 9 county commission seats. And then we also have Democratic Women's Club. We have college Democrats, young Democrats, a few others that are members of it. And that's who our executive committee is.
So do you take one from each college in Knoxville or just UT?
The college Dems?
Yeah.
I think it's a universal chapter of Knox County. Is there a college Dems for Republicans?
Yeah,
college.
Actually, so UT has a chapter, Pellissippi has a group. And that ebbs and flows because all those kids aren't in there. I say kids, young adults aren't in there all the time.
No, they're kids.
They generally gravitate to the young Republicans, and actually the state reps and county commission races a lot of times tag the poli-sci grads to get involved in their campaign support.
Yeah, we have a lot of the college Dems get involved in our campaign.
Yeah, they do a lot of internships in Nashville. So if you're going to college, you're at UT, you're a poli-sci guy, there's no money in it, but if you need an internship, Matt and I can get you in Nashville.
Well, the Democrats pay, so.
Yeah, the Democrats pay.
Well, the Republicans do too in Nashville.
Oh. I don't know.
Ooh. We pay $15 an hour too, living wage.
What? In Knoxville?
Who decided that 15's living?
No, wait, back to my question first. In Knoxville?
Yes.
So you pay your volunteers?
No, we don't. It's not volunteers, it's staffing. We have volunteers, but on top of that, we have
So you pay people what I get people to volunteer to do.
We have hundreds of volunteers, and then we have a couple staff people that we pay.
How do your volunteers feel about that?
I mean, the staff people work 40 hours a week. I mean, it's different than volunteering. It's totally different.
You signed up as a volunteer. You know
So
you can walk away at any point. You're like, motherfucker, I'm volunteering.
How many staff members do you have? You had like 18? You're paying them $15 an hour?
Like 22?
Oh my gosh. How much money are you guys pulling in?
We're doing very well with fundraising.
No doubt. How much of it comes from Knoxville?
Really?
All of it comes from Knoxville.
How's it gonna go when you don't have Trump to fundraise against?
I've already been fundraising post-election, and we've done very well post-election with Knox County money for Knox County Democratic Party.
Marsha will be a good fill-in for that.
Say what?
Marsha will be a good fill-in for that.
Marsha who?
Fill in for what?
Blackburn.
Will be a fill-in for what?
Trump.
Oh, to campaign against.
Beat up Marsha instead.
To fundraise against. Yeah, I can't be
like
mad about that. Yeah.
Arch nemesis.
She started a podcast.
Nemesis.
You listen to any of those? No, you don't do your fucking homework. Jesus.
Stop giving it to me a night before.
You listen to the Marsha podcast?
I listen to
all your employees this way?
Well, if he got paid, I would.
I'm on volunteer basis.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, why not? I was hoping to find anything that was worth like talking about, but it's a shitty podcast.
All right, now wait. Let's get back to reorg, Matt. So yeah,
apparently I'm not here on my own podcast.
So
Let me
you're
check out.
looking at like
Both parties
20,
are once a year.
Every 2 years, right,
Every
Matt?
2 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
every 2
All
years.
year.
And both state parties have bylaws that lay all this out. So going to the Libertarian Party, they got to meet the benchmark for 57,000 votes, some such nonsense, and it's like, if you're going to win a statewide race, whether it's gubernatorial, whatever, if you're going to win a state race, don't you have to have that number anyway? And they complain that they're not able to get enough libertarians to get us on the ballot.
If you're going to win a city, or well, not a city in Knoxville because it's not party affiliated, but if you're going to win a county race as a libertarian, because you can't put it on a libertarian ticket, you got to get 57,000 Knox County residents to. So here's the example.
Libertarian guy who ran for state house in 2018.
So here's he was not on the ticket as a libertarian.
Yeah, he didn't have to
independent.
run in a primary. He saved some money, went right to the general.
Right, save some of taxpayer money because you guys get funded for primaries by me.
Whoa, time out. Wait, Matt.
Primary?
Who pays for a primary?
Who asks for the primary? The public. Who pays for it? The public.
Okay, so
wait. The public did not ask for a primary. Isn't that on a scheduled basis?
More ink.
Oh, wait, hold on, Matt. We have a question. First question of the night. Go ahead.
Is that not on a scheduled basis?
What?
As far as having primaries prior to a general election?
So who writes election law? The state legislature. Who puts the state legislature in place?
Okay, if you want to do an end round, yes, the people are asking for elections.
So if you want
you're saying the way you worded it made it sound like the general populace are the ones requesting to have a primary.
And actually, on that point, yes, I do want a primary, and I want a primary for both your parties. I want to vote for both your primaries.
And you can.
No, I fucking can't. I can pick which one I want to do this time.
Exactly.
No, I can't pick.
So you want to change that?
I want a primary for whoever I want a primary for.
So you need to elect the people to public office that are willing to make that change.
You got to request a primary for a special primary
Matt,
election.
help me out here.
No, because
this is how government works.
You can vote in both primaries. It wouldn't make sense to have primaries at that point.
No, well,
who's the nonpartisan?
Right, no, because the reality is you're right. You're right. Hold on, time out. You're right, because the primary is not for me. The primary is for you two and your parties.
Correct.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, legally, you're not allowed to vote in a primary that's not your party, but people do it all the time because you can't. How would you know? You can't know.
Well,
we don't register. We don't
know the
require
cost
registration.
of running that election's even higher, because that means you have to have an actual judge at every polling location.
Because it's a felony.
The entire time.
I learned it's a felony. Technically, it's a felony for me to pull primary.
All right.
To pull up different primary. And it's funny because like Andy Holt was the one who was arguing against that. He's a guy who voted in the Democratic primary.
All right. So let's back to your basic question. Mm-hmm. So both the Democratic Party.
Yay! He did it! Hold on, do I have applause?
Bells or something? Yeah, there we go. That works. So both the Democratic Party and Republican Party in the state of Tennessee have bylaws. And they're rules. They're written rules. We are not a government entity, either one of us. We have to follow state law. So the way the rules are written meet the requirements of state law. Within Knox County, the Knox County Republican Party leadership can vote by unanimous vote, can say, we are going to name our own party
we got
leadership and elected officials for the primary. And we can shut out everyone else in Knox County that doesn't meet whatever requirements we put in place to be able to vote in that primary.
Right, because that was the Manus Genus, the Manus Oster thing was an illustration of where her complaint was technically valid. The party could have done what they wanted to do, and they could have put her in that
No, it was
But
a little bit different for her because she was running for state office.
But point
so
being,
there is a state executive committee that
Right.
put forward to the legislature to close primaries, put the responsibility on the parties to name their own candidates, and the legislature balked.
But hold on. But closing the primaries also, it doesn't necessarily put it on the party to name it. It doesn't. It doesn't
puts
preclude.
it on to name it. We're still going to publicly fund primaries.
But it doesn't. Right. But it doesn't preclude
It is a
you.
function of government to
Right.
hold elections.
It doesn't preclude you from running a primary, but a closed primary would give you the option to not let people that are either not officially, that have not have officially signed the paperwork to be a Republican or a Democrat, to vote in said primary.
Right.
And my opinion on that is that I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not going to register as either.
So
But
you save money
if
during the
you-
primary, go straight to the general
What-
election, you'll get elected.
Now tell me about this money that I'm saving in the process.
So any political race costs money, right?
Right.
So if you don't have to run
Now-
a primary,
Costing the
and you
taxpayers money? Where is that
No,
money
no,
coming
it
from?
costs you
Campaign
money to
You don't have to
campaign.
run it. You don't have to
Yard
wear a primary.
signs,
Okay.
flyers,
But
You
I
don't
also
voter
individual-
engagement.
the
right, but
individual.
I also have to run as an independent, which doesn't say anything about me as a candidate. I don't
Yeah,
get to
but,
vote
I mean,
for. I don't get to run as the party of my choice. I can say that publicly, and any dumbass podcaster that has me on,
All
I
right,
can.
stop
I
a
can
second
scream
and listen to Matt. Listen to what Matt
He's-
has
The
to say.
benefit of running with a party besides your name is you have the infrastructure behind you. You already have the party loyalty behind you. I mean, there's tons of benefits to running in a primary and running in a partisan primary, because then you have people that will support you.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, you
Blindly,
say-
without
Right, exactly, and
question,
that- which is one of the problems
and
we're
that's
talking
why
about,
we're
right.
in the shape we're
Right.
in.
But to go back a minute,
I
for
would also
me,
say that sometimes there aren't primaries for certain situations. Like if there's a representative who dies or has to step down for a reason, then the county party picks the person to fill that position. I mean, we've had to do that before. The Republicans have probably had to do that before. If there's a state representative, state senator who dies or steps down or something, then it's the party's prerogative to then place who the person, the nominee.
right, I get all that, but my point is, even though I joked earlier about how I'm kind of falling away from being like hardcore libertarian or whatever, if I want to run as a libertarian in Knox County, for Kyle Ward, look out, District 4 County Commission as a libertarian, and I want to put an L next to my name on that ticket, not just another fucking independent. And if there's any other libertarians out there who want to primary against me, let's go.
Change your last name to Libertarian. Seth
It
Barber,
cost me. It cost me 60,000 signatures, give or take.
What's your last name start
about
with?
to say,
First letter of your last name
It
is
costs
what?
you a lot less to change your name.
B. So I get.
So you're
so I'll be
already
first.
you're already 10% ahead.
Right. I'm first on the list of other. Right. That's fantastic. I'm first on the list of other, but I have to get 50,000 Knox County residents, and that don't even have to be in my district, which my district is like 50,000 residents. So I would have to get my
50,000 signatures.
right,
So
because
it's
I have to get
awesome.
if I understand the election law correctly, is I have to get 10% of the voting populace to get me to add a party to the ticket. Statewide, it'd have to be whatever 10% of the state is would have to sign off to get
Well, if you're running
to get
for
this.
county commission, that's what 12,000, 15,000 people plus 10%. Is it 10% of what your county commission population would
I
be?
believe it's it's not the district, it would be the county as a whole in this case.
Okay.
Which I would have to get enough signatures. I'd have to get more signatures than the district holds, basically, if I understand the rules correctly.
No.
Where I only have to get 25 to run. Randy's saying I'm wrong. Hold on.
All right. So party affiliation on the ballot is determined by the state legislature.
Okay, so I have to get 10% of the state.
Right. So you're looking at ballpark 57,000 to be able to name an official party that appears on the ballot.
The 57,000, how many people are in the state of Tennessee?
7 million.
So 10% would be 700,000.
It'd be voting population, though. It's voting
Okay,
population.
so lazy math's half. That's
No.
350,000.
All right, so hold on. So you threw out the number 10%. I don't know exactly what the number is. I'm not sure it's 10%. I think it's like 2.5, quite frankly. But my point is that is a state law. That's not a county law.
Right, but that's
you're running for office in Knox County is determined by state law.
Right, and again, that further illustrates my problem, is that if I want to run as a party that isn't Republican, isn't Democrat, I have to get whatever percentage of the state to agree that my party exists for me to run as my party. And now you're correct. Me, alphabetically, I get to sit high on the list because alphabetically I am in the top 10% of the others that run. And realistically, District 4 here only had Todd and Kyle run anyway, so I would have been the only other if I had run against Todd and Kyle conversationally. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, I is worse than anything. Like, I is just bad. I is because again,
independents that win all the time.
Win all the time. Where? When's the last independent that won in Knox County?
Independent that won in Knox County. There was an independent county commissioner, I don't know, a while ago. I don't know. It just depends. I mean, it's usually local races. It's usually someone that you know personally, like someone who has a good standing in the community.
Right. Which, again, that brings up another thing that I'm having issues with is that Kyle Ward's Health and Economic Commission he's trying to put together. They put out the they put out the requests for applicants, and I'm going down the list. It's like, I want to be an applicant, and the
requirements. There were a number of specific requirements. So they had
the only
a
one that
segment of the population in mind that they were after, and simply based on the charge of that commission.
Right, and the only one that I could even remotely apply for would be a business leader in the community.
There you go.
Which,
business leader.
Well, they're talking about like accolades and awards I've gotten from the county. I haven't gotten shit from the county for what I do. The county doesn't like me anyway. But,
so Matt and I can both write you a letter of recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take it, but I don't know. I'm still.
That's an automatic no. So fuck him on that.
I'm not.
You should have the Libertarian Party guy in for real, and see. I bet they've tried to do it before.
I've had
So
Josh.
who is the guy in?
I don't know who the Knox County chair is.
Okay, so
I've talked to the state chair.
I have a great relationship with the. Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
I think the Knox County chair is also the state chair now.
He is the state chair now, but
he used to be the Knox County chair. Now he's Josh Eagle.
Right. I had Josh in on the show, and I was actually joking with him about jumping on this one, but it's already chaos enough. We couldn't throw another one on top, but whatever. It'd have been fun.
It looks like there's not a Knox County Libertarian Party. There's an East Tennessee Libertarian Party.
Right. And for a long time, I say for a long, I'm dirty little secret. There are 95 counties in Tennessee. How many Democratic? I did it.
Anyway,
Chairman.
93. There's 93.
I don't have an applause button.
So see, you heard what Matt said. They've got 2 vacant county chair seats. So the Libertarian Party ought to look and say, where are those 2 counties? Really, where are they at? We can look. I will tell you from experience, and that's all I'm basing this on, real world knowledge. I recognize that there are a lot of people out there that are libertarian leaning, and a portion of them are really Republicans that are fed up with the Republican Party. A portion are Democrats really fed up with the Democratic Party. And a portion of them are truly, not unlike you, libertarians. I don't need a party to represent me in government. I just want to do what makes the most sense.
I think it's the reality of the situation. Because again, it goes back to blaming the voters, which I'm more than happy to do. Is that somehow that was my joke with the I, and I mean the L would probably be just as worthless behind the name compared to the R or the D. We talk about down ticket voting. We talk about all this different stuff, which again, that's something that Matt and I talked to, have been chatting back and forth of. Is like, what is the down ticket voting? What does all the different changes that have happened on this presidential elections mean? But people don't look at candidates anymore, and that's the real problem. They don't look at the person; they're looking at the party.
I found the guy. His name's Brandon Hughes, chair of Knox County Libertarian Party.
Brandon Hughes. You're going to hear from both. Or you're going to hear from all of us.
I can confirm it, Sam. He's got a Jorgensen Cohen thing on his Facebook and a George Carlin meme, so it sounds like a libertarian. Yeah.
Brandon Hughes. That name sounds vaguely familiar.
Randy, if you're out there listening, which I'm sure you're not, you need to hit me up or hit Josh up and have Josh hit me up because Josh knows how to get a hold of me.
So Seth, I'm going to put it to you this way. I think that Matt and I both, and we said it before, we love our community, we want what's best, and I think you want the same thing. We have an opportunity here, and I'm not looking to make a fourth party. I'm not looking to make much of anything, quite frankly. I want my government to do what it was designed to do, elected to do, and nothing more. Regardless of party. And I think we can get there. And I think your premise and your idea about almost an agreement was spot on. Because more often than not, your average everyday Joe is going to agree. We all, what kind of, I asked this question the other day, what kind of ice cream you like? There were 5 of us in the room. We had 3 that liked different kinds, 2 that liked the same. And I said, imagine if every decision, every significant life decision that we made from this point forward was based on the fact that you 2 like that flavor. And they looked at me and they were like, I said, now ask yourself this question. I'm the Republican Party chairman in Knox County. And the expectation is that's how I run the party in Knox County. And they were like, well, that ain't right. And I was like, exactly. And I don't run the party that way. And I don't believe Matt runs the Democratic Party in Knox County that way. I think Matt believes and wants what's best for Knox County. I think the problem is there's not enough of the vanilla, butter pecan, raspberry. Have you ever eaten eggnog ice cream? Yeah, don't bother. So I think Ben & Jerry's has got a new flavor. It's Colin Kaepernick or something. Anyway, my point is we aren't always going to agree on everything, but I think we can agree on what the basic function of our government, what we expect and need from our government. And we lose sight of that because we spend too much time on you're a libertarian.
I know. I'm on board with you 100% until you get to the very end there, which is what we expect our government to do. I think that is the real major difference in most political conversations right now is that there is the nothing, leave me alone, or there is everything. And there is no middle. There is no nothing else. And I think that is where the real divide is.
There is a whole. Well, look, one size doesn't fit all. Knox County's not the same as Nashville. Knox County's not the same as
let me
New
back
York.
Up. All right, let me correct myself in the federal conversation. And I think that's where the gridlock and divide really hits home, is that we acknowledge that Knoxville, Nashville, San Francisco, everybody has these little differences, and that they should be able to function differently. But for whatever reason, we care more about what's happening federally than locally. That is the problem that I guess I was really trying to illustrate.
Well, the phrase used to be that all politics is local, but now all politics is national.
Right.
Well,
and that's
not all politics.
Well, all
not
politics.
For you and I come next year.
Right, but all politics that get coverage, that get time, that get energy spent on them. I mean,
so there truly is a third party. Well, there truly is a controlling party, and who might that be?
Big business.
Money, media, wise people that deliver a message.
Here, Matt, this is for you. This is the cathedral. The third party reference right now is the cathedral.
Why is it called cathedral?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't make up the fucking phrase.
Because it's a church, Matt. It's a church. It's a religion.
Right. No, apparently I didn't know.
Follow now?
A foundation where things come together. If they don't come together, they fall.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. Glad I got
You
some
need
kind
to
of
get
analogy.
a regular ding, ding, ding winner bell. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
It was a ding, ding, ding last time.
I know. I was
No,
saving
that was the next round bell.
No, that was
Let's
me.
get ready to rumble.
When you guys got too hot and wouldn't shut up, and I couldn't hear either of you because you were yelling at each other, I still got it. It's here.
Hey, are you going to run again, Randy, for chair? Have you decided?
So what? Did you guys decide to ask that question? Let me put it to you this way, man.
I only talk to Matt about maps and
Right.
data because it freaks me out how much fucking data the party has on me. It's the only thing I talk to Matt
know
about.
about yourself.
Well,
I have friends.
He's got more friends.
If
So anyway.
if I was told correctly, you have more data on me than Matt does, and that already freaks me out because Matt has more data than I like that he has on me.
Matt, so let me try and lay it out like this. The city council races right now are a hot button issue for both, your guys and our guys. And I don't mean that in an adversarial sense. That's a focus. It just is. It's what we do. That's our job. Both the Democrats and Republicans, Democratic Party, Republican Party, are going to reorganize.
Acceptable function of the word. Good job.
Right now, the Republican Party traditionally has done it in the late January, February, early March timeframe. I have no intention of changing that. Our convention is probably going to end up being Republicans, Democratic Party.
That was me. Sorry. Data thing. That was me.
We're probably going to end up doing it late February, early March. No later than the last week of March so that we know, who our leadership is and we're prepared for, petition pickup, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. So for those out there that have been listening that want to get active in the parties, Matt, we'll start with you. Any contacts, any information, anything you want to get out about specific to people wanting to get in and be part of the party?
Yeah, we'll have reorganization next year, which means we'll bring in many people to represent precincts. You can represent where you live. You can vote on party leadership.
What month?
It's good for the party. And you can go to KnoxvilleDemocrats.org to figure out more info.
Or check them out on Knox
What
Dems.
month?
Knox
What
Dems
month?
on Facebook.
Any idea?
We usually reorganize in January as well, but the word from TNDP is that it'll be postponed. There's a committee that oversees reorganization, so it'll be postponed. I don't know how much longer after January. But.
Okay. And Randy, anything for the people out there that want to get active in the Republican Party in Knox County?
KnoxRepublicans.org. Hit us up on Facebook, Knox County GOP.
All right.
Stand by for more info.
So,
Is that the end?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, Randy was in the middle of answering his question. I asked him if he's going to run it.
so Party Battle number 2, we did the thing. We'll do it again. I'd like to do this regularly, fellas. I have a good time with it.
It's always fun.
I get to throw my I don't like either of your guys' parties things out and then get crazy with it. But we are almost in agreement at gmail.com. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. And we are on YouTube. Let us know how bad our first live attempt was. It was the first try at doing a live thing. I don't know. Be active. Get involved. Whether you want to get involved with these parties, find the other parties that are active. Get a candidate that doesn't have anything to do with either one of them, and do what you can to support them. Because at the end of the day, as we talked about, it's up to me and you to make it better. It's not their fault for doing what we told them that we're okay with them doing. So we're again almost in agreement. Party Chair Battle 2 is in the books, and we'll talk to you all later.
All right. Well, is that it?
I mean, I run the song out.
Don't run, Matt.
All right, so the